Hello katuan you had a couple of Pacific waves from RNZ Pacific ni Koroi Hawkins. Coming up,
though it was a shock to the village, we knew it would eventually get to Tokelau.
communities are locked down in Tokelau after confirmation of their first COVID-19 case. Also,
we are currently in the recovery mode after Super Typhoon Mawar has hit Rota.
We check in on the recovery effort in the Northern Marianas Islands after Typhoon Mawar. And later on,
to get all the support from the people is just, it really shows what our community is about, right?
we sit down with Iam Tongi, the first Pacifica singer to win American Idol. Tokelau remains in lockdown following the announcement of its first COVID-19 community cases. Between May the 15th and the 26th, 4 community cases have been reported in Nukunonu. Lydia Lewis has the latest.
Tokelau is now officially the second to last country in the world to have experienced community transmission of COVID-19, with Turkmenistan still at 0 cases. On top of the 4 community cases in Nukunonu, there is 1 border case, and there have been 2 recorded at the border on Whakaofo. Tokelau Government General Manager Aukusitino Vitale says the index border case arrived on the Lady Samoa, with more than 70 other people in Tokelau on Sunday, May 14. They stopped off at Atafu and Whakaofo. All passengers who disembarked on Nukunonu tested negative on day 1. But on day 3, a 48-year-old male tested positive. A week later, on Sunday, May 21, the man's son tested positive, becoming the first community case in Tokelau. I spoke with Mr. Vitale, the government spokesperson, who was also on the voyage.
Though it was a shock to the village, for us who was responding, no, it wasn't, because we knew it would eventually get to Tokelau. So, we prepared for that purpose, that it will arrive in Tokelau. We've been very encouraged by the results, which has been very overwhelming and satisfying for us. At the Tapulenga meeting, there were, a sense of fear was still there, but I hope that what has transpired, the response has answered a lot of the questions, the uncertainties about readiness of our response to safely guard Tokelau in the event that there is, COVID. And of course, you recall that Atafu was the first to be successfully controlled at the borders. Now, Nukunonu has had an experience with a community case, 4 community cases. And Whakaofo has also had its first cases at the border. So I think it's, everybody has had a taste now, and hopefully that would bring about some better understanding of the new response based on what's happening in the world. And hopefully Tokelau will start, easing off some restrictions, but still keep the fundamental protection to protect Tokelau, given that we have not had our 5-year-olds below vaccinated.
And what is your message for Tokelau in this moment of uncertainty?
The message would be is to have courage. We have a very good high percentage herd immunity rate, which is really helping with the positive cases. It's just been flu symptoms. Fever is, of course, the most difficult one. But apart from that, people are recovering. So that should give us some confidence in that we have a very good herd immunity throughout Tokelau, because everybody is vaccinated apart from the 5 and under, as well as those who refuse to get vaccinated. But then, of course, we have some who have left Tokelau since then. And Council is considering further review of the borders, and for Tokelau to give their trust to the health. They've proven once on Atafu that they are capable of managing positive cases, and the situation in Whakaofo and Nukunonu is further evidence that the health team are ready to take on the challenge.
He says the restrictions in place mean Matiti School on Nukunonu is closed, as well as all government offices, Essential services like the hospital, co-op store and finance are open, with special arrangements in place to minimise people moving about in the village. People are allowed to feed their livestock between 7am and 9am. Mr Vitale says the 5-day lockdown, which is only in place in Nukunonu, ends on Sunday 28 local time.
Rota Island in the Northern Marianas is in recovery mode after typhoon Mawar ripped through with wind speeds over 200 kilometers an hour. Rota, which was the worst hit in the Northern Marianas, had water restored at midday Friday and the hospital has power again. Rota's Mayor Aubrey Hokot speaks with Caleb Fotheringham.
We are currently in the recovery mode after Super Typhoon Mawar has hit Rota. Rota and our neighboring island of Guam were the most affected, but yesterday, as of around 5 p.m., we had the cancellation of the typhoon watch from our governor, Arnold Palacios, and then last night we had the all-clear signal from the state that way we were out of the typhoon danger zone.
How bad is the damage?
So we are just very happy and blessed to report that there are no significant injuries or deaths to our residents here. Many of our trees have fallen, so much debris have just traveled around from the south to the northern parts of the island. We had some residents already indicating and reporting that they have damages to their home. Most of our government facilities, due to the mitigation with typhoon shutters, there's no major damage to those facilities. Our public facilities is just, again, debris around the area. We had some power poles that were damaged, which of course immediately cut off our power supply to our residents. Yesterday, we just want to thank our hardworking team from the power and the water utility agency, and they were able to restore our water. Although we have a boil notice for our residents because we do not have access to transport some of the water samples for testing to see if it's safe for consumption. The power, I'm just happy to report, or maybe about 30 minutes ago, we are able to supply power to the hospital, which was, of course, our first priority. And then our team, our power division team, will work their way to try to restore to the remaining villages on the island.
Do you have any numbers in terms of how many homes could be destroyed or how many government buildings have been damaged?
So government buildings, there's really no significant damage, just flooding around the facilities. In terms of the residential homes, I will be activating teams today at 1 o'clock to do an orientation briefing to follow guidelines based on the Homeland FEMA's individual assessments. So we're going to be tapping into employees, personnel to assist with this assessment. They will be visiting residential homes beginning Sunday to really help identify any damages to our residential homes. So I really don't have a number right now, but we have gotten phone calls having our people report that there were damages. Their tin roof have flown off. Some portions of their homes have been destroyed or damaged. Of course, we have farmers that have also reported that there are major significant damage to their field. So we are tracking these things, and slowly we've been working with our federal partners to see how they can engage in. But of course, one of our major priorities was to clear the airfield so that we can accept and welcome any supplies and equipment to help us with our debris removal, as well as to bring in personnel from our neighboring islands who work for the government agencies or federal partners to help us further assess so we can see what other resources can be available to assist our local communities.
And just on supplies, are you expecting any supplies to come in soon?
Yes, immediately. FEMA has already shared we have intention to bring over generators to help support our hospital and the command center and the shelters. We do still have people who are displaced as a result of the typhoon, and so we will house them until Red Cross is able to come in. They've already informed us that they will be sending over food and water. Water is the biggest issue because there's a boil notice advisory, so it's really the consumption of water that our people are mostly concerned about. Some of our local stores do not have generators, so they're not able to open. We do have a few, but it will not be enough to supply the island.
There were obviously no injuries or deaths, which is great news. And it's a little bit surprising from here, just considering how powerful Typhoon Mawar was. Do you have any reasons why you think that there were no injuries and deaths?
The first thing we can do is say that we've just been very, very fortunate to not undergo any of that. Even to this moment that I'm speaking with you, the winds are still very, very strong. Even when we have the all clear, you can hear it in our personnel who are going out and trying to do their best to restore power. We're still experiencing heavy rain and strong gusts of wind. So it really is an indication of how strong the super typhoon was. But I think part of it, too, is the great preparation that we've had, really a great line of communication between the municipality of Rota and the state. You know, we've gone through so many typhoons, for example, like through, again, my experience working and coming back home that I've gone through is the Mangkhut Typhoon U2. So our people have somewhat already learned and prepared themselves and their families from that. After the typhoons, I'm sure many of them have taken proper measures and steps to mitigate for future typhoons. And many of the homes here on Rota are built of concrete blocks. And so they've also probably taken additional safety measures in terms of typhoon shutters, securing or building their properties in higher elevation levels. So I guess different factors play a role, but all we can do is prepare as best we can and just hope for the best.
The Pacific is awash with shipwrecks, many of them victims of World War II. Many of these vessels are oil tankers with holds full of oil, and as the ships get older, the environmental threat they pose gets bigger. One of the organisations that's trying to do something about this is the Australia-based group, the Major Projects Foundation. It knows where many of the shipwrecks are and is able to help governments and other agencies work to remove the oil. Director Paul Adams spoke with Don Wiseman, who began asking about the extent of the oil threat.
One of the biggest issues, Don, is that nobody really knows what oil's left in these when they went down. Usually something sunk by a torpedo or bomb or something like that. It breaks in the middle or it has a hole in it. And it may open one or two fuel tanks, but quite often there's a dozen or more, 10, whatever. Fuel tanks still left full of oil, and it sinks to the bottom and sits there. So right now we've got, 3,000 odd ships in the Pacific from the World War II. We've narrowed that down to about 60 wrecks, which we are almost 100% sure are going to be a serious problem if they go. And we are trying to find out how much oil is left in them and what sort of threat do they actually pose.
So 80 years after the war, what is the level of risk at this point?
Well, every year that goes by, the level of risk gets higher and higher. Our studies have shown that the corrosion has basically whittled away these vessels and they're down pretty fragile at the moment. What will happen is a large ocean surge tries to have an effect on the ship, say during a cyclone or something like that, tries to move the vessel, even at depth. And sooner or later, that's been moving slightly over the last 80 years, but sooner or later what will happen is the hull is so thin that when it tries to move the ship, it'll break it open and release the oil pretty much.
And it's going to be the ships that are in the shallower the water, the more danger they're in.
Exactly. It really comes, there's a whole range of issues, what we call Category 1 wrecks, and we have about 60 of those. There's 4 in Australian New Zealand waters, and then the balance of those are around Micronesia, Solomons, New Guinea, and Marshall Islands.
Okay, so what work is going into trying to get rid of this oil?
Well, before we can get rid of the oil, we need to know how much oil is there, what risk does it pose, and basically our plan is to make a risk register of all of the vessels out there so that large amounts of funding can be put into it, and they will have a data set to work off, basically a 3D model of each ship, location of all the fuel tanks on that model, based on original drawings, thickness of the hull, water samples, current samples, projections as to where the oil might end up if it leaks out of every particular ship. So we need that information in order for anyone to even try and tackle the issue.
And that's the focus for your
organisation. And that's the focus at the moment, is the research. Visit each of these 60 wrecks and document each one and take all those measurements and the readings and make the assessments. And then from that, construct a risk register, which will then say which ship should be tackled first, here's why, and basically here's a recipe how it should be done and the reasons why. So anyone that makes that decision to start to remove that oil or start a program to remove it will have some sound information to work off.
I presume the oil is of no use.
Look, it's random. Most of it is, heavy bunker fuel. So some oil has been taken out of various ships and samples, and some is very waste oil with highly contaminated, and some can be recycled. So it's really a case-by-case basis.
Not all oil, I guess, is going to pose the same level of threat to the ocean, is it? Some of it is just going to dissipate and not cause too much of a problem. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. The thinner the oil, like diesel, for example, probably, it's a nuisance and it colours the water, but it's probably not going to be that huge a problem. Pretty much every ship that we are looking at from World War II is heavy bunker fuel, and that will pose a problem, and that's why they're on our list.
Yeah, so 60 ships. Where's your main focus?
Look, at the moment, we're doing some work in Chuuk Lagoon in Micronesia because we got a bit of funding from the Australian government to have a look at that. We're also looking shortly into shipwrecks in Marshall Islands. So they're the first two areas that we're getting our teeth into, so to speak. And basically funding holds back the project to whatever extent. We don't have funding yet to look at anything in New Guinea or Solomon Islands. Palau's the same. There's one shipwreck there. We have some funding for Micronesia, FSM, and we have a bit more funding potentially for Marshall Islands.
American Idol winner Iam Tongi is causing a buzz of excitement in the Pacific. The 18-year-old won the competition earlier this week, becoming the first Pasifika singer to do so since the series was first launched in 2002. Finau Fonua spoke with the Hawaiian-born singer of Tongan and Samoan heritage, whose soulful singing and touching personal journey captivated American audiences and won him fans all around the world.
What was it like winning American Idol?
It was crazy, man. So when I was there, I was just getting ready for whatever happened, and I would have been happy if Megan won too. You know what I mean? Or if Colin won as well. And, I just love those guys. And, when they said my name, I was just super excited. And I couldn't really show it because right when they said my name, I was excited. Then I grabbed the mic and I had to sing a song. And it was really cool.
So could you describe that bond you developed with the other competitors? Was it difficult when you had the others drop out? Was there a friendship?
Yeah, because we're in this thing for like almost a year, right? So we grow close together because we've been together for so long. And of course, it was really hard to say goodbye to a lot of the people. And one of the hardest person it was hard for me to say bye to at the time was Matt Wilson, one of my buddies. Yeah, because I knew that Oliver too was sad to see him go, but I knew he was gonna come back for the finale. So I wasn't really too worried about that. But, it was hard to say goodbye to everyone.
So this is the beginning of your career now.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Could you, so what's the next step? You already working on the album or?
I'm working on more music, right? And I'm trying to do some shows or, I can't really get into detail about it, but I'm trying to work on music. And I'm trying to get out to shows and play live events because I love performing live. It's just that's one of my passions about music is performing live.
So the genre of your music, what style of music are you playing?
Me personally, I love all kind of music, right? So I like reggae, island music, country music, all types. But I'm trying to lean more towards songwriter and singer-songwriter. And more like a Jack Johnson kind of vibe, right? And it'll be cool to dabble a little bit in, a little bit of reggae and a little bit of country in it, and but mostly just focus on singer-songwriter. And maybe one day, for sure, one day I'm working on releasing a Polynesian album, right? Just of singing Polynesian songs like Tongan, Samoan songs, Fijian songs. It'll be cool to record those in the studios and release an album. Yeah.
Over the last few months, people have been claiming to be your cousins all over Tonga, claiming to be related to you, and debate about your heritage. Could you clear that up now? Like, what is your family background? Where you came from?
So my mom is her maiden name is Tuifua, and my mom is Liliana Tuifua, and my family, my mom's mom, my grandma, is from Kansas, over here in the States, and my grandma's maiden name is McCormick, and until she married my grandpa, and my grandpa's Tuifua, and it goes back, and I don't really want to get into I'm a Tuifua, and also my dad is half Tongan, half Samoan, and Luafutu Asuao, Luafutu Asuao. That's my grandma's side, and also I'm related to some of the Tosungas, and I'm related to I have a big family, right? So maybe if they're claiming to be my relatives, maybe they are, right? So I have my Tongi side and my Asuao side. Then I got my McCormick side, my Tuifua side, and it's just a really big family.
Have you been to Tonga? Would you like to go there?
I haven't been there, but yeah, I'm planning on going one day. I don't know when, but hopefully one day I'm gonna go back to Tonga or go to Tonga.
And New Zealand as well, and I suppose the other Pacific Islands as well.
Yeah, for sure. As Samoa, New Zealand. I have a lot of family in New Zealand and also in Australia, and yeah.
A lot of people are proud of you. A lot of Pacifica going online, and what's it like to get that outpouring of support?
To get all the support from the people is just it really shows what our community is about, right? What our people's about, right? No matter who you are, like we're trying to claim that's our cousin, right? Yeah, because we're proud. We're really proud of what happens over here, like to our little small section of the world, us Polynesians, us Islanders. We're really proud of whoever makes it, right? Like, when Dinah Jane was over there, we were like, oh, yeah, that's my cousin. Everyone's like, yo, that's Dinah Jane. And, The Rock, everyone's like, oh, The Rock's my cousin. You know what I mean? That's how it is, you know what I mean? Over here in our community, because everyone's just really proud of each other. And that's what I love about our community.
That's Pacific Waves for today. To listen back, head over to rnzi.com/programs. You can also download us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, Tomas, for here to come, and looking you fala next time more.